Okay, can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yep.
Indeed.
Awesome. Okay, guys, we could play with Facecam if we wanted to, but for now, let me do
Hey, I look bad right now.
it's okay. For now, let me do the intro. As I was saying, welcome back to T&D Court of Spades campaign. My name is Emily, and as always, I will be your dungeon master and tiefling mythical priest for the evening. I play Nyx, and tonight we are beginning our solo arcs. But before we get into that, and after everyone's intros, I am going to do a little bit of a group meeting with Ace, basically, to kind of wrap up what happened last time, and then we'll just get right into it. So I'm gonna play the music through Rabbit, and that should work. Everyone can turn down the music as they please using the display volume. I'm just gonna have this up so that we're not distracted by anything. All right, so let's go down the line. We're in a bit of a different order than we usually are, but do your intros.
Hi, I'm Liz. I play Marin Marlios, the half-elf wizard.
Hi, sorry, I was trying to get the music to not be super loud. I'm Nat. I play the human druid Jezebel Amarek.
And as always, it's your boy Detroit playing Peter Lombaum, the halfling bard.
All right, so, Nat, did you use there's like a volume outside of the screen to turn things down?
Yeah.
It's still too loud? Okay.
Yeah, it was
I
still
just making
really,
sure.
it was weird. I'll figure it out.
That's fine. Okay, let me pull up my notes. Let's get started at this. If we run a bit long tonight, this is to my party members and people watching as well, but we may run a bit long tonight. Party members, you're welcome to just message and tell me if you have to bow out a little early, but I have like 7 pages of notes for Marin's solo arc, so and that's not an exaggeration. But let's get into it, shall we? So, with a quick recap of what happened last time, you guys all went to the gala, didn't you? Peter met another halfling. Or was it?
And she robbed me.
Yeah, she tried to rob him. Actually, she successfully robbed him.
I've been robbed.
Her name was Penny, and then she swindled our dear halfling and took off into the crowd.
And then she took my pennies.
Yeah, she took his pennies. Jez had like a weird, like, vision kind of in the middle of the dance floor and danced with a stranger in a wolf mask.
Jess's supernatural crush slash love interest has suddenly appeared and we don't know who she is.
And Nyx and Marin danced together, as well as had yet another conversation about what's going on between them that led to absolutely no progress, as per usual. Our dear new friend Owl was approached by a military general who was old friends with his father, and Ace danced with Elena, the queen. And after that happened, they were brought into the queen's kind of personal quarters. It was kind of a library slash office situation. And she introduced herself to all of you, and just as that kind of went down, some guards burst in from Eldersbane and announced that something called the Revenant Ruby had been stolen, to which Elena, or who we thought to be Elena, stabbed herself, and her form changed from the image of the queen to the image of a young woman, or to her true identity, which is a young woman with bright copper hair. And she fell to the floor as a red spirit kind of parted from her body and escaped out the window. And with that, we will start this week's session. So that happened, and we're going to do a little bit of a jump to back at the court. All of you minus Owl, are back at the court in Ace's office, where you usually kind of host your more private meetings, and this is especially private because Ace, instead of his normal cool professional demeanor, is absolutely losing his shit. So let's cut into that scene. You guys are kind of standing around in a semicircle watching Ace, like, honestly, like, throw shit around his office as he looks for something. He is muttering to himself quite vehemently.
Jez looks absolutely nonplussed and a little bit distasteful.
This is not good. If this is happening, then I don't. We need to find her. All right. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna find his accent, and then we're gonna keep talking. Australian. All right. So that's not how that was supposed to go at all. I'm not trying to make a joke here because it's not fucking funny at all. Those guards out there, if you couldn't tell by their insignia, and the Revenant Ruby, let me put this candidly. That Ruby, remember, like, a few days ago when I spilled my entire life story to all of you for the most part, and I told you about fighting in the Great War, and how I trapped one of my friends in a gemstone to protect the world? And also kind of as a panic response? Well, that ruby has been kept in Elder's Bane for 2 centuries. And if that ruby is gone, then that girl, well, I'm not even gonna pretend like I don't know who that was. That girl who fell to the ground at my feet in the Queen's office is Kaishara. Does that mean anything to any of you? Do you understand where I'm going with this?
I mean, I could say some more, but it's just gonna be Jez looking absolutely annoyed. So, I would really appreciate it if somebody else picked up.
She just wait. Sorry, this is out of character. She just fell. Last time her spirit just like fell out of the
Yeah, so she stabbed herself, and when she did that, she stopped looking like the queen, and at this point, looked like Kaishara.
Right.
And then as her dead body fell to the ground, a kind of like spirit-like entity left her body and escaped through the window.
And and she was wearing the gem, correct?
She wasn't wearing the gem. She's just like, what the connection that Ace is making here is that Kaishara was there, and Kaishara used to be trapped inside the ruby. Which means whoever stole the ruby destroyed it and released Kaishara.
So we have a lich on the loose.
Essentially, yeah.
Wait, so whoever's in possession. So wait, Ace, why didn't you have the gem then? I assumed that you had it then.
Listen, I may be in a position of power here, and this may be a secret organization, but we have flaws. There are people that... Listen, Elder's Bane is the epicenter for magical items in Alphane. So naturally, the most powerful magical item I possessed, I trusted them to protect and lock away in a place that nobody could ever reach it. It's too
putting a lot of
vulnerable.
fate.
It's too vulnerable in Grimoire. We didn't have any kind of magical protection to seal it away.
But you don't have any idea who might have it then?
No, I have no clue. This makes no sense, but my only guess would be absolute insanity, which is somebody somewhere has found records of those sorcerers and just...
Guess you didn't wipe the history books that well then.
It wasn't my personal responsibility, Peter. I did everything in my power, but you know, there were people alive during that time. Elves live for hundreds of years.
Wait, they do?
Seriously?
Peter, I don't have time to worry about the fact that you've apparently never met an elf in your life.
I met plenty of elves. I didn't know they lived for centuries, alright?
They live upwards of...
Look, they're already 6 feet plus, and they can see in the dark. And they only need to sleep for like, what, 4 hours? I'm digressing.
Did you say 6 foot? Marin from 5 some stares at him.
You're only a half elf, it's fine.
That is true.
Just says that in character. You're only a half elf, Marin. Don't worry about it. Oh, good start.
But that's not the point. The point is, again, so you trusted a very powerful magical artifact with a group of other seemingly qualified magic users, but you don't have any leads, especially when it just seems kind of odd. Like you seem to know that individual very well, and to entrust the stone that encases their soul.
Listen, I told you I'm not a very smart man. I wasn't trained to be some kind of leader. Like, I'm being very frank, I didn't want that thing near me. You have no idea what it's like to have something in your possession that has she was one of my closest friends, Peter.
I know, I understand that.
She betrayed all of us. Can you fathom maybe why I wouldn't want to have that near me?
I understand not having it around you, but not knowing at all where that item could possibly be.
I thought it was in Elder's Bane. I knew that they had locked it away in a safe, in a vault, somewhere they told me was safe.
So you do have some idea.
That's
okay,
where
I just assumed that you had no idea. Like you just lost it.
I knew where it was, but it's not there anymore, as we know, because somebody freed Kaishara's soul from it.
Great.
Which means which means there's someone out there with the knowledge of the kind of magics and power that nearly befell Althane centuries ago. This is nothing to take lightly. This is not a laughing matter. And not only that, the Queen is missing. We have no idea where she is. I don't know what Kaishara did to her, or whoever the fuck is working with her. So far, the only people who know this are us and those Elder's Bane guards. And as much as I want to launch a search and rescue, there are procedures we have to follow. Mass panic would only complicate matters further. And as head of the Queen's Guard, I am expected to accompany the representative party from Grimoire to meet with the other kingdom's rulers and discuss a course of action. Obviously, the guard and the militia will be alerted immediately and put on high alert for any sign of Kaishara or Elena, but until I know who will be filling Queen Palace's duties and the arrangements for her recovery, I can't issue any orders for our organization. The court is at a standstill until we can find the Queen. With her missing, our actions are left to me, and I need to gather the intel I need before I can send you anywhere. If you're still willing to help me, that is to say. But I'm not going to send you on some wild goose chase again.
That's a first.
Jez, look, I'm not blind, I'm not an idiot, even though I just admitted to being one, but I like to pride myself in my ability to pick up social cues of anything, and I realize that you clearly haven't forgiven me and think very lowly of me now. But you've worked with me longer than these guys have. You know that I'm not trying to be a bad person. I'm trying to be a better person. And I'm sorry. I don't know what else I can say to you.
I think you have some work to get done, Ace. I've completely lost Jez's accent. Hold on. Give me 30 seconds.
I don't think I've been speaking in Ace's accent this entire time.
I think you have some work to get done, Ace, and now is not the time for a heart-to-heart. When you need us, I'm sure that you will let us know. Until then, we'll find our own amusement.
You're not bound to this headquarters while I'm away, but I do implore you all to lay low as much as you can. Be on the lookout for any information that might... What is this accent? Oh my god. That might be helpful in our search. Keep on your toes and keep your communication stones close in case I need to reach you before I return. Be ready to drop everything and get to work on a moment's notice. Do you all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, just stay low until we're needed.
And don't hesitate to let us know when you need us.
Yeah, clearly this is something personal, so just let us know. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm a bit beside myself. But I'll be departing shortly, and will return no later than a month from today. It's a long journey to travel across all of Althane, but I trust all of you will keep your eyes and ears open in the meantime. And his expression kind of softens a bit, and he runs a hand through his hair, which has long been messed up from the nice slick back style he had it in for the gala. Please stay safe. In times like these, we don't know what lays around every corner. Trust each other, and gods, I hope you can trust me. I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe. We have to bring her home. So, if anyone, does anyone have any parting words for Ace? Because if not, I'm going to kind of star swipe the scene here.
The best transition.
Alright. So with that, Ace kind of straightens up and nods, which is kind of like, you know by now is him signaling that you're allowed to leave his office. And he starts to, as you're departing, you kind of see him starting to like shove papers into what looks to just be like a satchel before he kind of leans over his desk looking a bit defeated. And the door closes behind all of you. And with that...
That guy needs a vacation, guys.
Yeah, no kidding.
He needs something, alright.
Just...
You can cut him a bit of slack.
Yeah, you maybe you should give him a break or something. He's under like a lot of pressure.
Maybe.
Cool.
Wait, so Mara, how long can you live for?
Me?
Oh.
Me personally?
Yeah.
Me? Me? You're asking me?
I can live for
How long can half-elves live? If elves can live for like centuries, how long can half-elves live for? How long can I live for? Wait, shit. How long can wait, Nix, how long can you live for?
Not Marin. Peter, is this really the time to be like questioning our mortality?
180.
Oh, we...
Dear gods, 180 is typically a half-elf lifespan. I believe it's around the same for tieflings.
A while, actually. I was just assumed... Most humans I knew usually capped at around 100. There was old lady Palmer, but... Anyways. So...
Well, Peter, we're not human.
That's true.
You know?
Except for Jez over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, except for Jez. Yeah, Jez will die at a regular time.
Yeah. We'll come to your funeral.
Yeah, gods.
That's probably not a good joke to make. Looks at Nix for a second.
Unless you're keeping something from us, Jez.
Why ever would I keep anything from you?
We have another lich on the loose? I swear to God.
we really shouldn't be joking about like any of this. Like I actually died, and
after
like
after a harrowing experience where nearly all of us got killed, and one of us
Yeah.
did.
So I'm gonna like call it a night because it is pretty late.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I suppose. Bed would be good now. So what are you guys gonna be up to? We're just killing time until he gets back to us, maybe in a month?
Yeah, I
Suppose
guess
so.
I might, prowl around town, see if we can, talk to anyone, or maybe I can find some, like, I've met some of the shadier folks around here when I was, like, out, playing cards and stuff like that, so I'll ask them if they've seen anything, maybe. But yeah, we'll figure it out, huh?
Yeah.
I suppose so.
Now might be a time to set affairs in order. Not to make it dark or anything, but I think, Peter, you had something going on with your mom while she was in town.
Just starts laughing. Yeah, I gotta. Don't worry about my mom. I'll take care of her. Don't worry.
That sounds like you're gonna, like, eliminate her.
Huh? You don't know anything. Listen, don't worry about it, Nix. Listen, you got shady friends. I got shady friends.
We're talking about your mom!
Huh? Yeah. Well, she's my friend. She's not that shady though.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're gonna, like, ask your shady friends to, like, take her out.
No, I'm just gonna write her a letter. Jeez. Relax.
Oh. Listen. I need to sleep. There are a lot of things happened tonight. I think we saw a ghost.
After what we saw in the circ, I don't know what my eyes see
Yeah.
anymore.
Honestly,
I'm just here for the ride, like pulling out a flask.
I think on the circus, related tangent, if you'll give me another minute of your time to keep you from your bed, Nix.
Oh, yes.
This isn't the first time I've seen that.
This isn't, or it is?
No.
No.
See this in the circus. You are all down.
Oh right, I keep forgetting that you only joined us the second time we went down.
No,
Wait.
like, you were all unconscious.
Oh yeah.
Wait, so what are you saying? You saw what at the circus? A ghost? We all saw the ghost. Although Thana she didn't, like, glow red like that weird thing, and she kind of had, like, an actual person body.
I'm not going crazy, am I? I just did see the...
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like, they saw it, but Nix has no idea what the fuck you're talking about, so he's assuming you're talking about Thana.
Oh, okay.
That's what I assumed too, yeah.
No. Yes, Nix, there was Thana. No, this is the red ghost thing that went out the window. This is... that. Whatever that was. That was at the circus, too.
What? That makes no sense, because Ace just said that was Kaishara. So,
The body might have been Karshara.
if that's true, then
Then what was inhabiting it?
Nix looks like that gif of that woman who's, like, looking at equations and squinting really hard.
Yeah.
Oh god, I broke Nix.
He's really, that was his one brain cell is running really hard in that hamster wheel.
means we either have
more than one of those things out there, or that was Kaishara in the circus possessing Thana's real body and pretending to be some girl.
Nix, I wouldn't be surprised if there was more than one. The Evermore is a lot of powerful magic. I'm unclear as to how Ace has lived this long. It isn't unreasonable to believe that more may be happening than we can understand right now.
Yeah, I haven't understood what was happening since the Queen took us into her office. Actually, maybe since we joined the court, but that's a whole other can of worms. So
I just pat him on the arm.
I think Marin has a good point. This is bigger than anything that Ace can ever think. And I'm sorry, but I don't know that we can, at this point, trust him with anything, given that he is involved with the original war and has now lost the stone and the Queen.
I'm not entirely sure either of those are his fault.
But for someone that he makes goo eyes at all the time, the literal entire gala.
Did he?
No.
Did he?
He was making eyes at her.
Marin.
Hold on.
Now Marin is looking like the lady in that Mac gif.
Fucking, there's a reason they're best friends.
There really is.
They share the brain cell. Marin just usually has it.
He is very attentive to her, even if they are not, as you know.
no, I don't know what are you saying, Jez? I don't know what you're talking about anymore.
I think we should keep this among ourselves. And I think
Done, because I don't know what you're saying.
Wow.
This is a really articulate party.
My charisma 18 wizard.
Oh god.
Oh, 19 charisma wizard. Sorry.
Holy fucking shit.
anyway.
I believe they're trying to say that. Never mind.
Marin will explain it to you later, Nyx. Don't worry.
Nyx looks at Marin like, will you?
Well, to go back to their first points, I agree that it's kind of hard to trust Ace right now. And granted, I almost said Wiz again. Marin,
I
you're
mean,
right.
technically, you would be correct
True.
still.
Marin, you're not wrong in terms of it's not necessarily his fault, but at the same time, I feel like what's the best way to put this? Yes, he's starting to open up to us a bit more. What with telling us his whole life story and everything with his soul gem and a spirit on the loose. But I still feel like he's holding out more than he's letting on. And he's always talking about doing better and, making things right, but what's that saying again? The ends don't always justify the means.
Hmm.
And right now, for all we know, we don't know half of what the means are for him. And that's my problem. I understand where he's coming from. The more I've been dwelling, the more I dwell on the whole, wiping history and everything, but it's just something that's rubbing me the wrong way. I feel like I can trust him, but I don't know.
I understand. I trust him, but not undoubtedly.
Exactly.
I'm in the same. I'm obviously agree. Like, I mean, shit, guys. I don't. If I'm entirely honest, I'm not really coping with all the shit that went down in the circus. And there's a huge chunk of that that's just missing from my memory because, well, I wasn't breathing for it. So, like, if I seem like I'm being a little lax towards Ace, it's mostly because I don't really. I can't lose this place, you know? The court. I don't.
He kind of glances at Marin a little bit and starts fiddling with his hand nervously, his beast hand nervously.
I don't want to be back on the streets, you know? Wasn't a good place for us.
It wasn't.
Now you have us. Looks at me and looks at myself and then back at Jazz. If all else fails, you'll still have us.
This is
After
true.
you-
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I'm really grateful for that.
And then worst case scenario, I'm sure Mom can make some room on the boat.
Oh shit, you're gonna hook us up with some some fishing jobs?
Yeah, man. Listen, Ace did say, we gotta stay low. Nothing says
Yeah.
low like taking.
Oh fuck
Anyways.
yeah, we're all just gonna go. We're gonna
I'm-
go to the Longbottom's house and we're gonna fish and just like chill.
I'm not,
It'll be like summer vacation.
I'm not sure I've ever been on a boat.
Guys, we really gotta find that cat.
Where's that
that's, like,
cat coming
made
from?
its way into the court. Like, I'm pretty
Guys,
sure
it's coming
been
from
in here
Jose's room.
It's been in here for a few weeks. Oh no!
Oh no!
I don't know if someone's
Let's keep it.
feeding it.
It's fine, nothing to
Alright,
see
alright.
here.
It's coming from
Again.
Jazz's room. That's the worst thing you could have possibly said.
That really is. That really is.
Well, we got a month to kill, guys, and I'm sure we all got our own stuff that we need to take care of.
Yeah, if
But-
you guys need anything, like, as far as I know, I'm not really set on any plans, so.
Yeah, suddenly my schedule is wide open.
Yeah, let's start this off by just sleeping in for maybe the first time. Well, I mean, we definitely slept in after we got fucking trashed the other night, but like maybe one where I wake
We
up and I
should-
don't feel
we
like
should do that
immediately
again.
dying again.
Oh, well,
I don't think you should do that again.
Oh,
I don't want that to happen again.
I
I had
had-
to deal with you both.
I had a great time.
I also had a very good time, but the next morning did not live up to the night.
We're referring to the night that just turned into a horse to carry Peter home, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Peter blinks from
and I
don't
think
remember
there's,
that
like,
night.
I think
I don't
Marin and
remember
Nyx
that.
had run off by then.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
Mary
glad that
thinks
you
fucking-
two had good time, but I did not. I had to deal with that one. Let me tell you, he's a lot heavier than he look.
You look.
I ran out of breath. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's good.
Also, you were that pony that brought me home that night.
Oh my god.
I'm literally going to bed right now.
Bye. Jez walks away.
Good night, Jez. Hey, Jez, wait, before you go. I kind of have some questions for you, but maybe we can talk sometime during this month. You know, we have lots of time now, so
Yeah, I'll pencil you in for breakfast sometime, yeah?
yeah, that sounds good. Oh, sorry.
Alright.
I said that in character voice because I was still talking in character voice.
Nyx just ruffles with these glass bottles on his belt for
Yeah.
no reason.
He fucking draw like a potion bottle falls out of his. He's like, "Oh shit, sorry." Anyway, yeah. Good night, guys. I'm sure I'll see you all around.
Sleep well.
Sleep well.
And with
Nice.
that, yeah, go ahead, Mary.
I just said goodnight.
Oh yeah. Okay, and with that, fuck me. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm trying to like move shit and I keep hitting. I have like 3 mugs on this desk. I should really put them in the sink. But one's for water and one's for tea. The other one's just kind of here. It's not actually a mug. It's a candle.
I have two mugs on my desk. One's for tea and one's for iced tea.
What the fuck? I thought you were gonna say one is for paint water, and I was about to say that's a really dangerous game you're playing.
They have played that game before.
I've played that game before and lost
Oh no.
frequently.
Okay, so you all call it a night. We're going to begin Marin's arc, which I have entitled A Letter from Home. So Marin, you wake up and it's about, I'd say maybe like only 2 days, 2 or 3 days have passed since Ace departed on his mission to meet with the other leaders of Althane. You guys haven't really done anything in the past 2 days that were really eventful, but this time you wake up to a soft knock on your door, and when you open the door, Athena is standing there. And if you recall, Athena is the half-orc woman that is also a member of the court.
Yes.
And she kind of is surprised a bit when you open the door. And then she looks relieved. She's like, "Ah, good, you're awake. I don't really know how to put this because it still doesn't really make sense to me, but there was a letter from you at the post office when I went to send some things to accompany Ace and meet him in Haven.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Who is it from? I don't... There's only one person I know, and it's...
I don't know. It just has a seal on it.
She hands you a letter, and it is in a. You can tell from being a wizard and having to like have experience with parchments and stuff like that that this is a pretty expensive parchment and like kind of stationery kit that you've been given this letter from. And on the front where the seal is, there is a silver seal with a rose on it. And on the envelope, it simply says, to Marin Marlios of Andalin.
Marin's face goes slack.
I'm assuming you recognize something about this?
Thank you, Athena.
Sure, I won't intrude, but be careful, Marin. People can't know you're here.
Trust me, I wish that too.
She kind of nods and walks down the hall, leaving you to your letter, and Nyx kind of like sits up in bed and squints at you and is like,
What? What's going on?
I don't answer him. Marin shuts the door and goes immediately over to, I assume they have a desk.
Yeah.
Of some variety.
I imagine this is kind of the space that Marin transformed, like half into a vanity, half into a desk.
Probably. He's just gonna find something sharp.
Mm-hmm.
How is it sealed?
It's like a wax.
It's a wax seal.
Yeah, it's a wax seal.
He's just gonna find something sharp and cut it open.
Okay. You hear Nyx's footsteps come up behind you, but he doesn't really say anything to you, and he doesn't. You can tell that he's kind of holding, like, lingering back, unsure of what's happening. And this is what the letter reads. To Marin Marlios of Andalin. It is with a heavy heart that I write to you. I can only hope this letter arrives to you in time, if it arrives at all. I've sent it to the closest town from your last known location as a former member of the traveling caravan B.R. Andy Santa Elegrin, though I do not know if you remain nearby. If this letter is returned to me, I shall know you do not, and I fear this news may never reach your ears. It is your mother, Marin. She has fallen very ill, and she has little time left. A plague has been running rampant in Andalin for many months now, and the town is devastated. Your mother is this dreadful disease's latest victim. I have done everything in my power to help her, sending the finest doctors and apothecary to tend to her, but I'm afraid she's too far gone. The disease has entered her bloodstream and eats at her from the inside out. I'm sorry to be so gruesome, but I want to emphasize the direness of the situation. She will pass soon. As her last request, she hopes to see you again. Though you do not owe me a thing, I hope you have the heart to fulfill this wish for her. She loves you so dearly, Marin. You're her whole world. If this letter does indeed reach you, I hope to see you soon. We have many things to discuss. Regards, Lord Aravalis Valamarin of Valgael.
I would have read that out loud to Nyx.
You read it out loud to Nyx?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I knew who it was from.
Oh. God, Marin, I'm so sorry. What?
Marin. What spells do I have? Marin crushes the letter in his hand. And sets it on fire with the electricity from Shocking Grasp, and then sweeps everything off of the vanity onto the floor.
You see Nyx jump back like the slightest bit, but it's mostly to avoid having glass shatter on his feet. He comes up to you, Marin, and just like wraps his arms around you from behind, both trying to restrain him and also trying to kind of calm him down.
Stop, Don't do this. I'm so sorry, Marin.
Who is the... Fuck. The strongest magic user we know is Ace. It's thousands of miles from here.
Well, if we go back to the mainland, I mean, there's bound to be a city that's close to the border that'll have skyships.
I'm not sure that's even fast enough. Eldersbane, how far is Eldersbane?
I haven't been there, but if I remember, it's about like maybe 5 days by horse.
Shit. Shit.
I'm sorry, I don't know a lot about magic. What are you trying to do?
Teleportation circles, anything. I don't... That isn't my specialty. The farthest I can teleport is 30 feet. But there are others that... God damn it. How far is the... I assume that we probably would have passed it with the show on the way to Grimoire, right? The nearest city on the mainland before Althane.
Mm-hmm.
About how far is that?
From the like the border where this city kind of sits in the mainland, it would probably be like 3 days ride by horse.
Okay.
Because Grimoire is the closest kingdom to the border between Althane and the mainland, so it's about 3 days.
All right. Marin goes to his wardrobe and just starts shoving like two pairs of clothes in a bag, and then just like magic components and money.
Okay.
And kind of like motions to Nyx to do the same.
Oh, are you sure you want me to come with you?
I'm more sure than anything.
Okay. He picks up his bag and kind of like glances around, like picks up a pair of shorts, picks up like another shirt, puts it in his bag.
Christ.
He picks up. Jesus Christ! People in the hallway are impressed by something. And then he picks up his like satchel of money that he has earned from working at the court and puts that in his bag. You also see him pick up. I think he has a weapon, but I'm too lazy to open his
Jesus, I like
character sheet.
I think it's like a sword. I like pick up his sword and shove it to his chest and then walk out the door.
Okay, so you guys make your way out. Alrighty, so we're gonna again kind of do a time skippy time type of thing. Unless you have anything you particularly want to do in between you guys reaching the border.
No, not at all. Marin's probably running out to that same half-orc guy that they talked to before and like
and grabbing a horse.
Yeah.
Okay. He's kind of like, you guys didn't really bring back the horses the last time.
Marin's like, shut the fuck up.
You just kind of fling some GP at him and take a horse. Nyx apologizes and also takes a horse.
I make sure Nyx gets a sweet horse that maybe isn't too afraid of him.
Yeah, gotcha. Especially now that he looks like an actual tiefling. Okay, so you guys ride 3 days out to the border. And you arrive at this border city, which I apparently forgot to give a name to, so it doesn't really matter because it's only going to be in the story for like 3 seconds. For a ticket on a skyship, a passenger skyship, it's going to be hold on, I just scrolled away from what I was looking at. There we go. It's 200 GP for a ticket or 550 GP for a luxury class ticket. Neither of which will get you there like faster. It's just how you want to fly.
Marin's just gonna look around for like, regardless of if it's a passenger skyship or not, he has enough money. What is going the fastest to the closest place he can get?
Okay. You discover one of the ships is like kind of what is essentially like the equivalent of a express train. And it takes you straight to Arkbury, and Arkbury you know to be is the like largest city that is closest to Andolin. Nothing goes straight to Andolin, as Andolin is a pretty poor village.
Yeah, I absolutely didn't expect anything to even go near there.
Yeah, but Arkbury is about a day's ride out from Andolin, so on a horseback.
Okay. Perfect.
All right, so are you gonna take just for keeping track of your money's worth, do you pay for regular tickets or luxury tickets?
I'll pay for regular tickets.
Okay, so that's 200 GP from you and 200 GP from Nyx.
Cool.
And you take the skyship, and it takes you there in about, I'd say because of the pace of the skyship it takes about 4 days because it flies nonstop. The only time it stopped is to refuel at some point. Listen, I'm bending the rules of skyships because I didn't care enough to research them. You're gonna be on it for 3 seconds, and then that's it. And then you arrive in Arkbury. So as you arrive at Arkbury, you are quick to ask where to get a horse from or a carriage ride. And they tell you that there are a few stables on the outskirts of town and some of the more rural areas of the city. Not rural, but you know what I mean. Not quite as industrial. And you're able to rent another horse to take you out to Andolin, which takes you about a day. Do you just kind of ride straight out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So
also, at this point, I imagine Marin has been getting enough sleep not to be, in D&D terms, exhausted, but definitely has not been.
Yeah, got you. So you guys arrive in Andolin, and Marin, it's familiar, but at the same time, something feels off. It may have been a poor town, but that didn't stop the townsfolk from bustling about the streets, trading products, doing business, heading to the local tavern, the kids going to the schoolhouse. But it's just quiet. It feels almost like a ghost town. There are a few signs of life, a couple skinny horses tied up in front of taverns. Every once in a while you see the flicker of a candle in someone's home, but you've arrived pretty late in the evening and there doesn't seem to be anyone out right now. There is also this kind of stench that you may or may not recognize to be the scent of decay and death and disease, but it's hanging like a cloud in this town. And despite all of this, it's as if your feet never forgot the path back to your home.
While we're coming in, I take the cloak that Al gave me, and I put it over Nyx and pull the hood up.
Okay. Nyx seems surprised for a moment, but nods understandably, and kind of tries to conceal himself as much as possible underneath it.
It's been a week. God, I don't even know when that letter was sent.
Marin, don't think about that. Just let's keep going.
You make your way down the path towards your mother's cottage. And it also hasn't changed a bit. The only thing you can really notice is that the garden outside seems a bit more unkempt. The ivy that was just starting to cling to the bottom of it when you left is now growing up the sides pretty significantly. And there seems to be a small hole in one part of the roof where a shingle seems to have fallen off, You feel as you approach this house, Nyx kind of moves closer to Marin and he reaches for his hand, giving it a comforting squeeze.
Marin just squeezes back, and I'll walk up to the door and knock. And then Marin will put his head against the door to listen.
You knock and you hear as you what's your actually I'm not gonna make you roll.
Passive perception is 16.
Okay, I was gonna say you probably have a decent one. Do you still have the Discord pulled up, by the way?
I do.
Okay, good. So you put your ear up against the door, and you can kind of hear on the other side when you knock, there are whispers. You can't quite make out what they're saying, but you can tell that there are at least 3 people talking on the other side of the door. And after a few moments, you hear footsteps approaching the door.
Okay, I'll pull my head back.
Okay.
And I'll just, using the hand I'm holding of his, I'm not going to let go of it, but I kind of shuffle Nyx behind me. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get. You're kind of standing in front of him.
Yeah.
Okay. Nyx
kind of holding
complies.
that hand behind his back, but still holding Nyx's.
Nyx complies, and you open the door, and it takes you a second before you realize that the only person in the world that this could be is Arafalis.
Where is she?
You see this man standing in front of you as you ask this question. He is tall and beautiful, with long black hair that falls to about his lower back. His features are a bit sharper than Marin's, and his ears are longer and have a few jewels hanging from them. But besides that, he's actually dressed rather humbly. At the moment, he was wearing a long forest green tunic of green velvet that has a quilted panel down the front bearing the crest of the Valomaran family, and dark black pants that kind of disappear into tall black boots. His eyes are the same color as Marin's, and even the way he smiles is kind of reminiscent of Marin. But right now, that smile isn't necessarily one of warmth or happiness. It's sad, but you can kind of tell that he's relieved to see you. He takes a step back from the door and kind of gestures down the hall to where you know your mother's room is. And he nods and he goes, "She's waiting for you."
I push past him and pull Nyx in behind me and just beeline to her room.
Okay. I don't know if you like. I'll just say with your passive perception, you also kind of notice there's the 2 other figures that are standing there, neither of which are your mother, obviously. But they don't really make any movement to greet you or stop you.
Yeah, for the moment, I'm not even acknowledging them.
I didn't think so. All right, so you are entering her room?
Yeah.
The door is cracked, but mostly closed. You can't really see her from where it is. And then I hope Griffin McElroy doesn't mind, but I'm going to borrow something.
Jesus Christ. Really out here trying to make me cry.
Hearing about Marin's mom's making me feel about my mom.
When you enter the room, it's full of flowers. You can tell a lot of them are gifts from locals in town, as they're a little less impressive than the ones that were clearly brought by Marin's father. It's a really beautiful sight, and it's kind of being bathed in the golden glow of the evening sun. But something about it makes a pit sink into your stomach, as it also kind of resembles an altar where people have laid flowers down at her. As you enter, your mother's head is turned away, and she's gazing kind of absentmindedly out the window. She hasn't seemed to hear you come in. As you approach, you can kind of see her face is a bit sunken, and she has dark circles around her eyes. Her hair is unkempt, and her skin seems a bit discolored. Her breathing is shallow, and her lips are dry and a bit cracked. But despite all of this, she looks like your mother. As you make your way further into the room, you notice something else amongst the flowers. Dozens of drawings are hung up around the room in charcoal. And there are a few that are landscapes, a few that are just like still lifes, but a big majority of them are sketches of Marin. As you kind of examine some of them, you notice that some of them don't quite look like Marin, almost as if she had started to forget his face.
I just kneel down next to her bed.
She sees Marin, and instantly her eyes fill with tears. And she seems to reach a hand out to caress his cheek before pausing, reconsidering.
I take her hand and I press it to my cheek, and Marin's already practically sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I understand. I understand why you left. I'm so sorry, Marin. I could never provide the life that you wanted. And I'm sure you hate me for it.
No. Gods, I am the worst son.
She shushes him gently before he can keep saying that. And she strokes his cheek lightly with her thumb. Her eyes kind of seem to trace over his face as if she's trying to remember it again. I love you more than the sun and sky, my little gem. You are worth more than anything on this plane and others beyond it. I just hope you found a place where you finally feel that way.
I should have come back sooner.
You wouldn't have been happy here.
But I gods, Mom, I'm sorry.
You have nothing to be sorry for. All I wanted for you, Marin, was for you to find some place where you could flourish and be who you wanted to be. And I was so angry at you when you left. But I've realized that keeping you here would have been the cruelest thing I could have done to you. I'm proud of you. You did what I never could. You made something of yourself. You saw the world. And you stood on a stage. I just hope they're all looking at you the way I do. She seems to kind of shudder for a moment, and her hand falls away from Marin's face. If he's holding it, it goes limp in his hand. And she kind of turns a bit to lay on her back, and you notice that her breathing is getting shallower than it was when you walked in. Marin, please forgive your father. Please just listen to him. I know you resent him for leaving us, but he had no choice. Marin, and he's a good man. He did everything he could to help me. Raising you and surviving out here. Please just promise me.
I promise. I'll do my best.
She tilts her head again a little bit, and you see fresh tears kind of welling up in her eyes, and she reaches for Marin's hand, but it kind of falls limp on the bedside as her breathing pace slows.
I just take both of her hands and squeeze them.
And a few moments pass before she lies completely still.
Marin kind of falls from like this more quiet sadness, trying not to disturb her, to like slow panic.
Mhm.
I reach up and try to touch her chest to see if she's breathing.
As you do this, you see Nyx's hand reach out and kind of stop Marin from doing that. And you feel his other hand on the small of Marin's back.
She's...
No. I just... She... I need help. I can't heal.
This isn't... I'm sorry, this isn't something I can fix.
Marin kind of panics more and yanks out of his grip, or at least tries to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to shout because I have roommates.
Yeah, you're.
But shouts, she needs help. Please.
Nyx kind of is. Did you say Marin's kind of like sitting next to her bed?
Yeah, I think as this has been happening, he stood up,
Okay.
but still at her bedside.
Nyx kind of looks at him a bit solemnly, and you notice Marin's father has reappeared in the door. And Aravalis kind of looks in, and you can see that there are hints of tears in his eyes. As he looks in at Marin, and
I'm not a healer.
Marin, please don't do this. We have a lot to discuss.
Do you want to do this now?
I think it's best for everyone that we make some plans. I understand that you're grieving, and listen, everyone who ever knew your mother is grieving, including me, but you meant the most to her, Marin, and I think it's only right that you be the one to make the calls about arrangements for her.
Marin just shakes his head at him and turns around and kneels back down and holds his mother's hand.
Nyx kind of looks up at Arvalis. I'm sorry, I keep messing that up. And puts kind of his hand up to indicate, like, give us a moment. And he kneels down behind Marin and just kind of rubs his back.
Because he hasn't committed suicide yet. I'm like,
I will say that if given, Marin will sit there completely awake and just leaning against the bed until probably morning before he does anything.
He's not gonna be like, Nyx is going to try and like gently pull him away from her. After like a few minutes have passed, maybe about 10.
Marin just locks eyes with him and just gives him the most extreme not now face.
Nyx looks back at him and doesn't really waver seeing this. And he goes, Marin, you have to talk to your dad.
I've been alive 28 years. And I haven't. I've been alive 27 years and I haven't. I don't need to right this second.
You can't stay here all night. She's...
Please, Nyx.
Okay. I'll be outside then.
And he stands up and hesitates a little before he leaves and parts and closes the door behind him.
Yeah, Marin doesn't walk out until probably about sunrise.
Okay.
And it's very obvious he hasn't slept.
Okay.
The entire time.
As he walks out, he finds Nyx kind of slumped up against the hallway wall right next to the door to Marin's mother's room. He just looks up at Marin when he comes out, and it's pretty obvious that he hasn't slept either. And as Marin comes out, Nyx stands up and just pulls him into his arms and hugs him.
Marin just hugs him back, but doesn't say anything.
You hear a throat clear kind of behind Nyx, and you notice one of the other companions seems to be standing behind the two of you. It is a male elf who seems to be a tad bit shorter than Arvalis, but he is heavily armored. Not like combat armored, but you can tell that he is definitely of some kind of guard position from Valkael. And he also bears the crest of the Valamaran family. He kind of gestures towards the den area of this cottage and says, Lord Valamaran would like to speak with you now. Aravalis kind of walks up besides him and waves him away and goes, Ilsandor, that's enough. I'll speak for myself. Marin, if you're ready, we can talk.
Very well.
You walk into the den with him and he allows you to sit down on the couch across from him, and he has pulled up a stool. And the two of you kind of sit in silence as he seems to contemplate where to begin before he speaks up. Thank you for coming. I'm glad my letter made it to you. I'm sure it meant everything to your mother that you showed up.
How could I not?
Well, we have a lot to discuss, Marin, and I don't think doing it here would be appropriate. As for your mother, I will pay for any funeral expenses or whatever you have in mind that would best suit her. As I said, I think it's best that you make the final decision on those arrangements. As for where we go from here, I know I was never a part of your life. I know I can't expect you to forgive me for my absence. But I assure you, Marin, it was never my intention to hurt you or your mother. I loved her, I did. But we were younger and foolish. We didn't think about responsibilities until it was too late. She was one of my best friends. And you may not have seen that, but that's why I sent letters when I could. No one knew of our relationship. These two I've come here with are some of my dearest friends and confidants. And he gestures to his companions. But when we return to Valkael, there will be no more hiding. I want to offer a chance to see for you to see what it's like to live amongst the elven kind. Your kind, Marin. We have
You are not my kind.
We have the chance to change a lot of people's minds, Marin. Please, I'm not asking you to stay with me. Only to grant your mother her last wish and hear what I have to say and see what I have to show you.
What is your wish, Lord Valamaran?
My wish is to be able to give you something that I haven't been able to give you. I want to
give you a chance at the kind of life your mother told me you were looking for in the few letters that I got from her. I'm not trying to hand it to you on a silver platter. I'm just trying to show you the opportunities that I can offer. And there's another thing. I have a son, Erebus. Your brother, Marin.
I don't have any brothers. I don't have any siblings.
I'm sad to hear you think that. He is my heir and has been groomed to assume my role when I have passed. But I think you should meet. I want you to be a part of our lives, Marin. Whether it's live together or you choose to leave, at least we will have known each other.
I will humor you only because she asked me to. But I am not your charity case to make yourself feel better after decades. Nearly 3 decades. I'm not sure if you're aware, but that's quite a long time by most standards.
I know, and there are reasons that I couldn't be a part of your life before, Marin, but now I just want to give you the life your mother wanted for you. I'm not treating you as a charity case. I'm treating you as family.
I will go with you because she asked me to.
Thank you. That's all I ask. He pauses for a moment, and Nyx, who's been kind of just like lingering with the other companions near the kind of entrance to this den-like room, he looks over at Nyx and then back at you, Marin. Your friend should return home. Valkael does not take kindly to outsiders. It is one thing to bring
Then
you
why
in.
are you bringing me?
It is one thing to bring you in. It is another entirely to bring a tiefling into the city.
He has known me for more of my life than you could ever hope.
Marin, I don't want to make this harder.
I kind of try to look over to Nyx to kind of gauge how he's feeling, if I can.
Yeah, I'm not gonna really make you roll for most things in here because I don't think we need to leave it up to dice. You can tell that while he is definitely being genuine about his offer to stay back, he is very, very worried about Marin. And would likely spend most of his time away from Marin just worrying about Marin.
Where's my percentile? Either he comes with me or I'm not going.
Very well. But he will be disguised.
I glance over at Nyx again.
Nyx looks back at you and nods and holds up his hand to indicate the ring that you gave him.
Would this work?
This should disguise you.
Very well. We will depart in the morning then. Well, I guess we could depart now if you like.
Now is as good a time as any.
We've got quite a journey ahead of us. So, with that being said, you are escorted outside with him, and he actually, one of his companions, the female elf that you haven't heard speak yet, she offers to take your kind of luggage, I guess, and Nyx's, and load it into a carriage that they have come in.
Yeah, I let her take it.
Okay. She gives you a kind smile and loads the bag into the carriage, as well as Nyx's few belongings. And Erebos, or not Erebos, Erevalis.
Look, he's had this name for like 2 years. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, I screwed myself over because I named his son Erebos.
Oh.
So it's a shortened version of his name, just like Marin is a shortened version of Valamarin.
I'm smelling a theme. All right.
You guys head out. Before you do, your Erevalis walks up to Marin one more time and is like, "We will make arrangements for your mother as soon as possible. As soon as you decide what you would like to be done for her." For now, I'll let the local what are they called? Embalmers?
Yeah.
Yeah, embalmers know of her passing. They will take care of her.
Maren doesn't say anything.
Okay. And with that, you guys head off down the old dusty trail. Nyx is riding in the carriage with you. It's kind of like a small, like a very mini caravan where there are two kind of carts hooked up to this team of horses. Aravalis and his the guard companion that he was with, who he called Ilsendor, is sitting in him with that carriage, and the younger female elf is sitting in the carriage with you and Nyx. It takes you guys about let's say a week and a half to reach Elthier, which is the city that, well, it's not a city, the like village that kind of borders the forest in which Valkael dwells. And the carriages kind of pull to a stop at the edge of this town where there is a stable. And a young stable hand comes out to start unhooking the horses from the carriages. Aravalis leaves the... before you guys, like, stop, at one point, the female elf, during your travels, leans forward and introduces herself. She says, I'm Hyleria. I'm sorry that these are the circumstances in which we're meeting, but it is nice to finally meet you, Maren.
Maren doesn't say anything.
Okay. Nyx realizes that Maren's not going to say anything and kind of leans forward and takes the hand that she's extended. And says,
I'm Life. It's nice to meet you.
She kind of gives him a blank look, before nodding and leaning back in her seat and looking out the window for most of the trip. And then you guys arrive at the border where the carriage is dismantled and Aravalis gets out of his cart of the caravan and opens the door to yours. From here we go on foot. The path to Valkael is left intentionally undisturbed, or as much as possible to conceal the route to the city, so you must keep close.
I think I'm capable of traversing magic woods.
He nods, and Hyleria climbs out of the cart and gets the luggage off the back, handing it back to you and Nyx. And then you guys make your way down down the path that kind of leads out of this village, but it reaches a point where that path continues through the woods, but in a different direction, in which Aravalis starts walking. Ilsendor is actually in the front, and he is... It's like watching... You know how cats will walk through, like, unnecessary obstacles by just, like, weaving their body through them? like rubber.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like that's how they navigate this forest. Is they just seem to like sidestep around plants and stuff. So they're not quite following a path or a straight line. They're just weaving their way through the forest. They're not cutting any branches down. They're not moving any obstacles. They're just avoiding things.
Mm-hmm. Marin will do likewise.
I kind of want to roll to see how graceful Nyx is at this. I'm going to.
Oh god.
Apologies for my dice sounds. Oh god, it fell off the... Hold on, I need to... I almost dropped it. That's not great. That's an 8.
Can I help him?
Can you help him?
Can I like hold his hand or something?
Yeah. Here, I'll roll with advantage. That's better. That's like a 15.
Okay.
Okay. So, with your help, Nyx manages to not disturb the forest too much. Every once in a while, he accidentally gets smacked in the face with a stick. But that's about the extent of his difficulties. And it takes you about a day by foot. But you can tell something is nearing as you begin to realize that a dense fog is settling through the trees. This isn't like the fog that you experienced in the Evermore. That wasn't fog, really. That was like a weird darkness. This is just normal fog. You feel a slight chill as you enter the deeper part of the forest, but that's mostly because the sun is no longer visible through all the cloud cover. But for a moment, you feel panicked as you lose sight of Aravalis and his party. But it doesn't take you long to realize that they've stopped walking just a few feet ahead. And as you approach, you see that they are actually standing at a gate that is almost invisible. The way this gate is, it's a huge wall. Not a wall that is taller than the surrounding trees, but it is kind of close to that height. It would be nearly impossible to scale this wall. Especially because the outside surface of it is almost entirely smooth. It is a giant reflective surface that mirrors the fog back, so it's nearly invisible. Marin, with Nyx by his side, watch as Ilsendor mutters a phrase in Elvish to the door. You can't quite make out because he's kind of talking into his hands. And a series of runes illuminates the gate. And it seems to almost dematerialize in front of you. You can't quite tell how this gate is opening. But as it disappears in front of you, it's almost as if the fog and the cloud cover is intentionally surrounding this city, as the gate reveals to you this bright, shining, absolutely radiant city. It is unlike anything that you've seen in Alphane. You've only seen cities like this maybe once or twice before, in the very, very rich parts of the mainland. And you didn't last very long in those parts because they definitely were not welcoming to you and Nyx. They're also usually kept very heavily locked down, as Valkael is. The streets are paved with this light gray cobblestone that seems to almost shimmer in the light. While a lot of the buildings, though they aren't very tall as to remain concealed behind the wall, they are they look like they could be brand new. They're strong, they're well maintained. They're either made of what seems to be marble or extremely well kept wood, as if there isn't a lot of elements that have been affecting it and wearing it away. Even in cities like Grimoire, you know that there are taverns that have wood rot or streets that are a little muddied, but everything here looks almost pristine. A lot of the larger buildings have these large glass panes across them that have almost an iridescent shimmer to them, making it a bit difficult to see into the building, but creating this atmosphere of bright light everywhere. It reflects the sun around so that everything seems to be almost glowing with light. The streets, unlike Andalin, are absolutely bustling with pedestrians. There are a few men and women making their way towards what seems to be a giant center square with a kind of building standing in the center of it, but it's a very small building, carrying baskets of fresh produce and other types of natural resources. There, down the streets, there are carriages and that are exquisite and led by white horses. And you see a few children that seem to be wearing a kind of uniform, and they are lugging large satchels with them as they make their way home from school. Arvalis and his party members lead you through town. A few people greet them.
The second that we come in the gate, I squeeze Nyx's hand and tap on his ring.
Oh, okay.
That he remembers to use it when we get within eyesight.
Yeah. All right. As you enter the city and take this in around you, you see Nyx, and he seems to change into what looks to be a half-elf at first. But after slight reconsideration, you see the ears get a bit longer. And he looks like a half-elf. But Nyx.
A half-elf or an elf?
It's kind of like a half-elf. Like, he's definitely not...
Half-elf with long ear.
Yeah, half-elf with
ear.
Longer ear.
Okay.
Here. It's this good boy.
Yeah, okay.
And it's a little jarring for you. You have literally never, like, even when he was using glamour, he never quite looked this far from tiefling.
Mm-hmm.
And as you walk through the city, he's still kind of wearing the spare cloak that you gave him, though.
Yeah. Which he can change any color.
Yeah. I think he turns it green because he notices that a lot of like the kids' school uniforms are green. A lot because of the way that the buildings are almost reflective here. They reflect some of the trees that are higher than the surrounding gates. So it almost has like a green hue to some of the light. And Arvalis and his party kind of lead the pair of you through the city. As you walk through, a few people kind of nod towards him, looking at you a bit curiously, but you don't really linger long enough for them to get a good glance anyway. his pace is pretty quick as he leads you through the town. And as you round a corner, you enter kind of this space in buildings where there's a bit of a clearing, and then there is a large white marble pillared building with a grand staircase that goes up it. And there is a smaller iron gate that surrounds it right before the staircase begins. And as you reach this gate, Aravalis turns to the other two and kind of nods, and they stand at attention for a second and before nodding and departing. Shall we go in? He takes a key out of his pocket and unlocks just a plain padlock on the gate and leads you, or gestures for you to go up the staircase.
I pause and then do that.
Okay. He follows behind you, leading you up to the large entrance of this building, where you walk in and are greeted by two more young elves, but they are wearing formal attire. Kaima and Rael introduce themselves and greet Aravalis as he enters. And you learn very quickly that these are just kind of hired help that Aravalis has in his home. Kaima is set to prepare tea and refreshments, while Rael looks as Aravalis speaks to her, requesting that they lead you to the library. I want to show you something, Marin. And Rael escorts your little trio up. The inside of this building is not as like white and shiny as the outside of it, but it is the ceiling is incredibly tall, and from it a large chandelier of crystal hangs, sharing that similar kind of reflective quality that a lot of things in this town seem to have. The carpet, there are red carpets that lead up a double set of stairs that, you know, like rich people houses in like video games, when you walk in, there's like two staircases that lead up to one floor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that kind of deal. And you can tell that there's another whole floor above the one that you're being led up to by this staircase. There are doors off to the side of you. There's a door off to the right side of you, and then the other side of you is kind of an open mouth towards where you assume like a den area is. But you can't really tell. That is also the direction that Kaima disappeared towards when she was told to go prepare tea and refreshments. But you are led up the left side of this staircase up to the second floor, and then guided down a hall to two large wooden double doors that are kind of ornately decorated with gold accents. And Rael opens the door and bows a little, gesturing all of you inside, and Aravalis leads you into his library. Marin, you have a moment where you remember the first time your mother brought home a book for you that she had saved up so much money to get you. And it was one of the best days of your life. It was the first time you learned firsthand about magic and how magic works, and this whole world of opportunity that she presented to you in this single book. And now, as you enter this room, you are just surrounded by floor to ceiling shelves of books and more shelves, and it's bigger than the library in Grimoire. It's bigger than any library you've been in before. You've never been able to get close enough to a public facility as big as this, let alone a private library like this. At one end, there is a large window that kind of overlooks the city beyond the back of this house, although you can tell that there are the gate that was in the front goes all the way around. And there's a long desk and a few seating areas kind of scattered through this library, including and it also includes one of those ladders that rolls around the outside of a library so that you can reach something on a higher shelf. There are large sconces on the wall that just kind of flicker on when you walk in. And Aravalis kind of takes a few steps in and leads you to this seating area that is basically smack dab in the middle of the room. There's a low coffee table between two couches that face each other, and he gestures for you and Nyx to sit in one as he takes a seat across from where he gestured. Marin,
Yeah, I'll do that.
yeah. Nyx sits next to you. Marin, this is what I meant. This is just the beginning of the things that I can share with you. All of this could be shared with you, Marin. I've been gathering these books for decades, and I received a letter from your mother after you left her. And she told me why, or at least the reason she thought why. And then I started collecting them for you.
Why?
I told you, I wanted to be able to give you something. This day wasn't supposed to come like this. I want to be as clear as possible that I wasn't waiting out your mother's life to begin including you in mine. I wanted this day to come. I wasn't sure when, and when your mother wrote me and told me what was happening in Andolin, I did everything I could to protect her from it, and it wasn't enough. So, if I couldn't protect her, Marin, I want to be able to protect you. I know you don't need me to, but I just wanted to offer it to you. This is as much yours as it is mine, Marin.
I am not sure what you want of me. Do you want me to accept you in open arms and call you father and tell you that I've missed you all my life? I am an adult. Not by elvish means, but I'm not elvish. I hate to tell you, but I'm more human than that.
Marin, I know that's what the world's been telling you. And I can understand why you'd want to associate with humans more than elves, but my blood is in you. Elven blood runs in your veins, and you're as elven as I am.
You are absolutely correct. And you know what? Gods, I wish it wasn't. I wish I was human. I have wished that every single day of my existence. Do you know what it is like to be a half-elf?
I can't say that I do.
No, you can't. I grew up in a town where humans hated me. And I have never met an elf that didn't scoff at me. I'm sorry. I've met maybe 5.
But
only one chose to befriend me.
Merrin, are you content with that? You don't believe that that can change?
I don't know.
For years I hid the fact that you had been conceived from my friends, my family, my entire society, and not because I was ashamed of you, Marin, and not because I was ashamed of being in love with your mother, but because I was afraid of what others would do to you and her. I am not going to be humble when I say that I am a powerful body in this society, but the only reason I've been able to maintain that is by obeying the laws of our society and upholding an image that I've carried with me my whole life, but I haven't carried it guilt-free, Marin, and I just want you to know that I didn't leave you and your mother because I was protecting myself. I was trying to protect both of you, because as you have told me, the world is quite cruel to those who are different. But with that being said, I am a high power here in Valkael. I am a member of the Senate, the 3rd highest ranking member, making me one of the lead chairmen. Which is why I think I'm hoping that we can change their minds and show them that being a half-elf doesn't make you any less a member of either of those races.
And how do you suggest I do that for you?
Well, as I've said,
I am a performer.
Okay. Well, I assume that means you're a good public speaker. Am I wrong?
Private speaking is more my domain.
You hear Nyx try to stifle a laugh and really fail at it. And
Ervalus kind of gives you a strange look. I'm not entirely sure I understand, but that is your business and I will not pry. I already offered you a place to stay here, and like I said, you are more than welcome to make yourself at home for as long as you'd like. And with that being said, I am not going to keep hiding you from the rest of this city. If you choose to stay here, we can come forward and be forward with it in front, and at least open up conversation for what it means to allow half-elves into elven society.
Perhaps that is a conversation you should have had before you brought me here. I have lived 27 years of my life not as your son. I'm not going to stop pretending that I care about being it now.
I understand. Well, if that is truly how you feel, then while you're here, we can make arrangements for your mother, and you are welcome to anything, especially this library. If there's something that you would like to take with you, just ask, and I'm sure I can grant it. But in the meantime, as he begins that sentence, you hear kind of a loud voice. And the door to the library kind of not swings open because it's a really big, heavy door, but it is pulled open faster than it was when you were escorted into it. And you hear a loud voice go, "Father, what is this about?" And you are kind of shell-shocked almost by the person standing in front of you, because even though this person doesn't look exactly like you, they do resemble nearly an identical figure to the one that you saw in the mirror and the one that you fought in your dream.
Marin stands up.
Here he is.
Marin's
So,
half-brother.png.
his name is there too.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I had to organize that so I could find it by typing in Marin. Ouch. To clarify, his name is Erebus, which is spelled like this. I threw in the rabbit chat. Actually, I can throw it in the Discord chat too. He stands nearly a foot taller than Marin. Actually, like a good foot taller than Marin. Give or take. And upon seeing you, he immediately becomes rigid and kind of stands up, his fists clenched at his sides as he straightens up and shifts his gaze from you to Aravalis, and he goes, "So I guess I wasn't being lied to when they said you'd brought a guest into our home." Aravalis kind of stands up slowly. He doesn't seem to be phased by Erebus's attitude. And he extends his hand out to Arvas to kind of gesture towards you, but Erebus kind of like jerks his shoulder away, and he's now looking at Marin again with kind of like narrowed eyes. Aravalis sighs for a moment and gestures to you and is like, "Arvas, this is your half-brother, Marin. Marin, this is my son, Arvas." Arvas makes no movement to greet you. He just kind of like sniffs in your direction and looks at Aravalis and is like, "So, what? What do you expect me to do? Give him a hug and say, 'Oh, I've missed you, brother. I'm so glad to finally meet you.' Is that what you expect?" He kind of looks at you up and down, Marin, and he also looks at Nyx and he goes, "Two of them? Are they both related to me somehow? You only told me about the one. Well, you didn't tell me anything. I had to hear it from the help."
No, I can promise he's not related to me. At least I should hope to God's not.
He kind of gives you a look, like, why are you talking to me?
Marin is just staring him down.
And Aravalis kind of sighs and is like, "Please, Aravos, just have a conversation with him, with each other. The two of you should know of each other. You are half-brothers, after all."
So this is why you brought me then.
What do you mean?
You...
Marin, I told you back at your mother's house that I wanted you to meet.
A boy that didn't know about me?
I told him about, and Aravas kind of like snorts and he's like, "As if I was going to believe you."
Did you want me to come and make nice with him and hope that I would show him that half-elves are all you say they are and part of all you say that they are part of? Did you hope that I could come and change his mind to rid you of your guilt?
Marin, no, this isn't about me. This is about you and your place in this society.
I found my place in society. I hate to break it to you, but I was fine.
As you say this, Nyx like stands up next to you. He's still like just as tall as he normally is in tiefling form. And he like grabs your hand and kind of like stands next to you, not really trying to be subtle or anything. But not intruding on the conversation. And Arvas kind of walks straight up to you and like kind of leans in, like that how not to talk to short people meme.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like crinkles his nose a bit and is like, your only place in society is in the gutters.
I cast Hold Person on him.
Do I have to make a saving throw?
Sure do.
What saving throw is that?
Wisdom.
Wisdom? Okay. Hold on, I have to make a space because I don't actually have a place to roll this. That's 16.
Fails.
Okay. He sees
So
that you
he
try to
says
cast.
that, and he just freezes in place.
Oh, he failed the saving throw?
Yeah, he fails.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought the spell failed. Damn, what is your DC?
17 now.
Oh, shit.
So he just failed it.
Arvalis kind of like lunges forward to try to like catch his son before he hits the ground.
Oh, well, if he was standing up, he should just freeze in place standing.
Oh, he's not gonna fall. Okay.
Yeah.
You see his eyes kind of like dart around. A little like panicked and frustrated. But this is like, I mean, this is still like a verbal spell, right?
Yeah, it is. It's verbal and
So-
somatic.
So Aravalis like rushes forward and like holds his like son's shoulder and looks at you and is like, Marin, what are you doing?
I dismiss it the second he says Marin.
Aravas kind of like lunges forward and grabs your shirt collar. And he leans in like really close. You can smell on him like what seems to be like very fancy perfumes. And he leans in really close to you, grabbing your shirt collar, and he goes, I don't know what kind of charity you expected from my father, but you'll never be me.
I assure you I don't want to be. He had to drag me here kicking and screaming.
He kind of releases your shirt, like pushing you a little bit away from him, and he straightens himself out. And he looks at Aravalis. By the way, the only really differing feature from him is that when he got in real close, you notice that instead of green eyes like his father, he has really deep blue eyes.
Yeah. I also expect he doesn't have the like beauty marks and freckles.
No, he doesn't. He has, as you can see from the photo, he's like a single beauty mark, but like not
Yeah,
freckles all over his
Because
face.
that was more a Eliana thing.
Yeah. And his hair is long and straight.
Mhm.
More similar to his father's. And Arvalis kind of sighs as the door to the library slams behind him. And he turns to you. Looking a bit defeated. Marin, I'm sorry about him. He's been raised in the same society as you and I. But this is what I mean by we need to change things. I thought we could start with Aravos.
How do you expect me to change anything?
I was hoping you wanted to.
Even if I wanted to, I am one person. That is what I've gotten my whole life. I can't help the way people were raised.
You're right.
What did you expect? From bringing me here? You know him better than I do. What did you think would happen?
Marin, I was more so hoping you'd stay more than anything else.
For a very long time, and even still, all I wanted was to make a name for myself, to be able to provide for my mother. And to be able to show anyone who saw me that half-elves, that people they hate, might just be something they never expected. Something brilliant. And I prided myself on doing it without an ounce of your help. I grew up knowing exactly who you were. And you weren't there for any of it. I don't know how to change people's minds. Other than that. And I have spent decades of my life in cities, in towns that hate me and hate him. And I point to Nyx.
Mm-hmm.
I have spent decades of my life feeling unsafe. I've only recently come to terms with who I am and what that means. I'm not concerned about changing millennia-old nobody's minds. I found friends where I didn't ever think I would find any. Because I never had any. Why would I stay in a city where everyone hates me? I can't do that. I can't do that to myself. I can't do that to life. Some things are more important.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed in your decision, but I'd also be lying if I said I wasn't proud of who you've become. I suppose it was foolish of me to think bringing you here would only help you grow more, when it's clear that being out in the world is what's sculpted you into who you are today. And well, for one thing, there's no way your friend would have been able to stay here with you. And I knew that. Life, I mean. But I still hoped. I hoped that your desire to learn new things and be accepted by society would outweigh your resentment towards me and the people of this city and others like it. But I can see that none of that really matters.
For a long time it would have. But I'm not a child anymore.
No, you're not. And I can see that I'll never be your father. Your mother did everything she needed to when raising you. I can't take credit for any of it.
She did better than anyone could have, regardless.
Well, I suppose you'll be wanting to go back soon then, after we've discussed the means of your mother's funeral, or whatever you so wish for her to have. Is that your final decision, Marin?
I'll spend the week for her sake. Because she asked me to try.
Well, then I'll be glad for the time that we have together. And perhaps our of us will come around. Thank you, Marin, for listening to me when you certainly don't owe it to me.
You don't have to thank me.
And with that, we're going to kind of fade to black on this scene. Obviously, Marin spends the time with his father. Spoiler, Erebos doesn't come around. He's a dick. He spends most of his time while Marin's there out just avoiding the home as much as possible. Nyx is told that he is not allowed to roam the city unless he is disguised. And even then, he probably leaves the house maybe once during that whole week. Maybe to escort Marin to what do you think Marin decides on for his mother's passing and her rights?
Probably a pyre on a lake, like in a boat.
Okay, so kind of Viking funeral-esque? Okay.
With lots of flowers. Like we're in her room.
Gotcha. Then that is what they do, perhaps.
Marin also, for note, does not let Nyx glamour himself or use the alter self charm while they're in the house.
Yeah. He doesn't really fight you on that, but it is clear that both Aravalis and Aravas, and basically like everyone in this house who come in contact with you and Nyx, are very uncomfortable with Nyx being there.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Which Nyx like can kind of tell.
Yeah.
That's
not Marin's
he's
not doing it in a haha, I'm getting back at you guys way. He's doing it in a, if these people can't accept this, then I really have no desire to be here. So, may as well.
Yeah, no, like, Nyx doesn't really care. Like, he's just happy to be there for Marin, for the most part. He's also, like, a little bit excited to be in a rich person's house. But he tries to conceal it as much as he can.
Yeah. To answer your question, Marin spends most of his time in the library. And he does read pretty quickly through just about every book that Aravalis said that he collected for him.
He probably has to take a few home with him because there's definitely no way that he got through all of them.
Yeah, if there's any that are explicitly like spell books of any variety, or seem important to him, anything evocation specialized or just spells in general. I don't know if he'd have any spell books laying around, but Marin wants to take those.
Yeah, no problem. I'll give you kind of I'll make up a more concise list of things.
Yeah.
And send that to you with the information that I also have to send to you. But yeah, with that, that kind of brings that week of Marin's life, well, at this point, close to a month of Marin's life, to a close. Aravalis sees you off from the gates and walks you back to that nearby village, so that you don't have to try and navigate the woods away from Valkael by yourself. And that's where he kind of departs from you. And you guys, over the next about a week, I assume, make your way back to Althane and back to Grimoire. And as you make your way back to Grimoire, you are on the path back, carrying those passes that Ace had made for you that allows you to pass as a merchant ship. Not merchant ship, merchant-like caravan type thing. And you hear a voice come through your communication stones. And that is where we will end as you re-enter Grimoire. So, that is this week's session. That is Marin's solo arc, A Letter from Home. I hope all of you enjoyed it, including my player, especially my player. And next week, hopefully, we will be doing Jez's arc, I believe, is who I listed next. Do we talk? I think we did. I gave you a list. Yep, Jez's arc is next. Yay!
Yay, that's me.
It's you. With that being said, I hope you all have a great night, and thank you to anyone who listened, and thank you, as always, to my players for being amazing and being here.
Thank you,
Good night.
Emily. Have a good night.
Good night.